All right, we're here. Here we are. We did it. It is a Tuesday. We made it to Tuesday. Thank you. Yes. Does anybody still, even though you stay home, you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you still, so Monday mornings are always have more anxiety for me. Like I wake up and I'm like, no, it's Monday and I have to go to work or do, right? Different than on a Saturday and Sunday. Anybody feel that? And I thought when I stayed home that it would be down, that I would feel like, oh, it's like Saturday. I can wear leggings. I don't have to brush my hair. I did for you. You're welcome. But I don't have to right? I don't have to go anywhere or have the stress of like traveling, right? I used to travel all day, but I still have it. Anybody still have it, even though it's on Mondays, even though you don't go anywhere? I think maybe some people have it more, right? Because of you now don't have to go anywhere, but you don't necessarily have a schedule that you used to have. My schedule was all over the place anyway, but I'm feeling like I was disappointed in myself that Monday was still kind of a thumbs down. I felt like when this first started, every day would be like a Saturday, and that's not the way it's turning out for me, right? Like I'm always a little more nervous on these days when I do the workshops because I don't want it to be awful for anybody. I would be mortified if someone paid money and then you decided, dip, she stinks, and leave halfway through the call. I don't think anybody's done that yet. So now you can't, because now you know that it makes me feel bad and I'll cry. Okay. So I just did 2 videos. Did anybody see them on, I'm on Instagram. Everything with my name. Someone told me to do my name a long time ago. I wanted to make them all really funny. My Instagram account and my Facebook account, they told me to put them under my name. So it's all Meg Thompson Behavior, Meg Thompson Behavior Consulting, regular Meg Thompson. That's my website. And I just did 2 videos that I put on Instagram and Facebook about choosing love. So as I was talking to Lori, I have some teachers in school districts that are like, we are now going from, we don't know what else to do, so we're going fear-based. Except they don't present it that way. They present it, right? I've seen the letters that are going home to parents. And when I see it, the fear is pretty in the letters, because it is sort of, if you don't know what you don't know, like parents aren't going to know that there's fear in this new system. And so I just did 2, right? So choose love. Why do we choose love, right? I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to choose love. You have to. Once you see that video, you're like, I have to choose it now. And then people are like, okay, so where are the love strategies coming from? So people want, because we're teachers, we want to create stuff. We want to make charts and diagrams and use glitter and laminate and construction paper. I get it. I taught kindergarten. I like to do all that stuff. You can't do any of that with behavior. So people have found this sort of behavior strategies on Pinterest. Now I said you can't use those because most of them are fear-based. And then someone's like, so what do I do? Well, you don't go back to Pinterest to make a love-based one. There isn't a love-based, there isn't a one thing, right? If you took down a clip chart or you ripped up your sticker charts, there's not one thing that's going to replace that. So my second video was, where do all these love strategies come from? But to even get to the point of love and fear, right? To even get to that point, right? Some people haven't even looked at it like that. They looked at it as effective and not effective, and how do we know? And if there's any shame, guilt, or embarrassment coming from the strategy you are using, it is fear. I even go as far as saying marble jars. Like, oh, you get a kindness jar and you get a pom-pom or a gem in a jar. That is also, I wouldn't call it fear-based, but it's not the best strategy because you're setting up competition and it's not real life. So the first thing we have to start with is, how do we currently discipline? So a lot of people do what they called ghosts of the nursery, meaning what was done to me, right? That's why abuse cycles keep going in families, because what was done to you, you do to others, because that's what you know. And when you're in a situation where you don't know what else to do, you pick what's happened to you. So have you used punishment? Right? Were you spanked when you were little? I still hang out with families that spank their kids. I thought that was not a thing anymore, but they said, well, I came from a military family and we were spanked. So when my kids don't listen to me, I spank. And I was like, so we're going to move, right? That's fear-based. We're going to move from that, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Safety is the second tier that you need to pass to get to need to know and understand. The second tier of safety is emotional and physical safety, and that's the reason why you have to choose love. So do you use punishment? Do you know that I have parents that the next one says, do you take items or experiences away when misbehavior is seen? So I have parents that put so much energy, and teachers, so much energy into thinking, what can I take away that's really gonna get them? That, right, I've had so many parents say, the only thing I could take away is technology, and that seems to set them straight. There are some kids, it doesn't matter what you take away. You take it away. I've had parents take their favorite bunny away, or favorite, right, like their Lovey, and put it on the fridge so they can't see it on the fridge, so they can see it but they can't touch it. And some temperaments are like dead to me. They don't care. And if they do care, they're not going to let you see it. But I have parents that are putting so much energy, and teachers so much energy, into the wrong thing, right? Oh, well, this kid moves too much, so I'm going to take away recess because that's really going to get them. I promise you, if there's a kid who moves too much, you know what the strategy is? Give them more recess. But then the parents think what? Or the teachers think what? They win. Well, it should be win-win. Then they won't move so much in your class, and they'll pay attention and focus, and they win because they got their wiggles out, and they got a lot more wiggles than you want them to have. You can't stop anybody move a lot? Hi. I mean, yeah, right? You can't. I mean, I can't. It's so hard. I love that these are an hour, so I'm doing 2-hour ones too for a company that I'm hired through, and the 2-hour ones, by the second hour, I'm like, I just can't sit here for 2 hours in my seat, and my bum hurts, and oh, it's awful. So does the discipline you use have natural and logical consequences, teaching consequences? We're going to get there. We are moving from punishment to consequences because there has to be a lesson learned, right? Are you teaching skills and meeting needs? I'm sure Emily, Lori, the people who have been here with me, Susie that have been here with me, I think you've been to every single one, all three of you, that 98% of the time a challenging behavior is a lack of skill or an unmet need. Yeah? Yes. It's a lack of skill or an unmet need. So is your consequence teaching skills? Is it meeting needs? And is it like, oh, you messed up. Okay. Well, right? You had a hard moment. We figured it out. You made a mistake. How many people still make mistakes as adults? Imagine people did to you what we do to kids when a mistake is made. I was saying the other day, and so this system that I'm trying to squash at these public schools is you get some sort of card, and then so many cards, and then you hold the cards, and then the cards are cashed in for good things, or if you get so many, you get recess taken away, or you have to do something, I don't know. And I said, okay, so if they make a bad choice, they get a card of some sort. Well, what happens when you, the administration, make a bad choice? Because you're currently making one. Do I give you a card? Can I clip you down? Can I take your stickers off the chart? Can I cross your stickers off? No. But you're making a mistake. So why is it okay for you to make a mistake and it's not okay for the kids to make a mistake, right? That's exactly what's happening. Like, I make mistakes, and if somebody did to me what I see adults do to kids when they make mistakes, how many people, I would hit and kick a lot of people, I think. Don't you think? Oh, someone raised their hand. Oh, I don't know what that, who raised their hand? I don't know what that means. I don't know how to, if you raised your hand and you want me to talk to you, take your self off mute and I'll talk to you. I don't know. Some people do it on accident, I think, when they try to do other things. If you have questions, guys, you can always just unclick yourself and say, Mag, and yell at me. Oh, someone is doing it.
I was just thinking, I work at a child care center in Hooksett. I work at Above Beyond Child Care. A big thing, what we do is not what I personally do. What teachers do is we have 1-year-olds and they say, go read a book.
1-year-olds can't read.
Right, they can't read, and that's instilling them to not like books.
Oh yeah, it makes me crazy. And you know what? The
Right?
least successful time that I have seen is when kids are done lunch and they're going to go to nap and their mats are out and they say, sit down and read a book. I was like, that is like an
No
adult.
kid in my center likes
No,
to read, and
no, you know what? It's like you sitting down and someone gives you a book that has pictures, but it's in Russian. How long are you sitting down on your mat to read? How long?
right.
Like 5 minutes? Because you looked at all the pictures and you're like, okay. And then it's like you can only have 2 books. Why?
Exactly.
Why? Yeah. So
Don't get
so
it.
that's a silly thing. It's basically an adult saying, I'm busy. You need to keep yourself busy. But at 1? Did you say 1-year-olds?
Yeah.
No, what? Oh boy. If you broke that down, common sense wise, it's not. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? Everybody made a.
Right?
I saw when she said it. You all made faces. The people I could see, you all went.
I was like, that is what I'm trying to do away with that. I'm like, no, they're not. They can't read the books. They can look at the pictures, but even then, like,
Yeah. So you're not letting them love books. And it's one thing if you
Right.
say, hey, you know what? Get a book. I'll sit and read with you because it seems like you need.
attention.
Yeah. And what 1-year-olds can't read. Even my son who's 7, to say, hey, bud, go get a book and just read for a little bit. It's like 5
Right.
minutes. Because by the time he gets to the 3rd word, he has to sound out. And they read so slow that they can't understand what they're actually reading. Each word is just separate, but contextually it doesn't go together. He's done. He's like, Mommy, it's just, ugh. And I was like, want me to sit and read with you? And he's like, yeah, that would be better. Yeah, no, we can't. That's not a good strategy. It doesn't even make sense. Tell 1-year-olds to read. I can't even imagine and what kid is successful with that? I'm more worried about the kids that do it and are successful with it. Because if you have a 1-year-old that sits and reads a book for like 20 minutes or 15 minutes, that's more concerning to me than when they don't sit and read the book at all. So that's a rough strategy. Oh, see, I told you my dog would be over here. Hi, bud. So before we go, so we have to self-reflect wise, we have to figure out where do we fall in this discipline category. So Savannah knows that reading for a 1-year-old's not going to do it, right? It's not going to be something that we're going to do because it just doesn't work out, right? So we have to figure out how do we get to a different spot with 1-year-olds when we have to do stuff. What do we do for them, right? You have to change your, right? And I'm sure they say it like this, go get a book and read your book. And so now you're saying it like you're mad at them because they're 1 and they can't read, right? And when we say it in that voice, we have to change. It could still be the book reading, could still be a strategy, but how do I incorporate myself? How do I read to, right? Can we have one adult doing the cleaning or whatever and the other adult trying to get all the kids and be very engaging reading? That could be where you hope to move to, right, with that strategy. Before we go any further, I'm petting my dog and trying to be right-handed. I'm left-handed, so who knows? You might lose the whole call. I might go to Timbuktu. Who knows what's going to happen? So no, before we go any further with discipline and how we get to consequences, is that you can't be emotional and logical in your brain at the same time. You can't be really mad and think through what you should do to be unmad. You can't do that. Adults can figure out how to do it when there's some sort of habit happening. When you get mad, you know how to calm, you take deep breaths, you know how to walk away. You can find something to calm yourself and then enter the situation. You get to logical faster when they are little and they're having a hard time. I think we're going to have a really hard time emotionally when we get back to school in a building, that we are going to have a lot of kids with high emotions. We're going to have a lot of tantrums. We're going to have a lot of freakouts. We're going to have a lot of kids who are addicted to technology, and we see a lot of that emotional piece with technology. We're going to see a lot of that happen, and we have to figure out, right? We have to figure out where our brain is with discipline, because when we go back, we're going to have teachers who have spent a lot of time on themselves, self-reflecting and learning all this information. We're going to have a lot of kids who have not done that. that have struggled for, I mean, by the time we get to school, it's going to be what, March, April, May, June, July, August, like 6 or 7 months we've been out of school, right? So we have to figure out how that's going to look in a classroom, right? We're going to have a lot of kids emotional when we get back. If we are choosing fear as a behavior strategy, we're going to have kids that are already struggling. And you think fear is going to make it better? How many people think fear is going to make it better? All right, thumbs down on that. It's not making it better. So if you consider your classroom or home inclusive, watch out for excluding others. So if you're like, oh, my classroom's inclusive, everybody's welcome, all temperaments, all the hard ones. A lot of people say we're inclusive because we take kids who are deaf, or we take kids that have cystic fibrosis, or we take kids that are in a wheelchair or have glasses, and that's inclusive. Do you take me, who looks like I have ADHD and I talk too much and move too much and I don't necessarily, if your rules don't make sense to me, I'm not going to follow them? Do you take me? You have to, right? I've been to a lot of schools where there's a buddy system. So I'm having trouble with a kid and I don't know what to do with this kid. So I give them to Lori, who's the teacher in another classroom. Do you think Lori wants my kid that's having a hard time? Not necessarily, right? She probably was like, I had a peaceful classroom. Why are you giving me this kid who's freaking out? And then what's that kid thinking? Oh, so when I'm having a hard time here, you don't like me. And I'm going to go see Miss Lori. And Miss Lori, unless she's really, really, really done a lot of work, is going to accept you without this face. Right? I mean, I think it's human nature to be like, great, I got them again, because you're my buddy classroom, so I give you all the hard kids. I don't know if that's, right, that's exclusion. It's exclusionary. What else is exclusionary? Sending them to the principal, right? That's exclusionary. I had a little boy. I guess he wasn't little. He was 9, maybe. He was having a rough time. And he was, I always approached him as, I'm your calm helper. He always swore at me. He said bad words. He threw stuff at me. And 15 to 20 minutes in, he would calm down. He would listen to me and we would figure out a solution. But it was always 15 to 20 minutes. So one day I was like, but I'll wait the 15 to 20 minutes. He goes, you know what? It could be shorter if you just sent me to the principal. And I was like, oh, that's weird. The kids don't usually ask to go. And I was like, why do you want to go to the principal? He goes, because I don't ever see the principal. I just go to the secretary and she has Play-Doh and Legos. Oh. So he just wanted to go for Play-Dohs and Legos. And I was like, dude, you just, okay. So I just carried Play-Dohs and Legos with me. When he had a hard time, I just got him on a table and put the Play-Dohs and Legos out. And he calmed down faster. And I was like, but you sent this boy who was having a hard time, and I know his background, he had a lot of trauma, so I would also be having a hard time, to the lady at the front desk who knows a lot of stuff, but knows the least amount of education in the whole building, right? She's the adult probably that has the least amount of education in education, is probably the front desk lady. She didn't take any behavior classes. She didn't take any education classes. What did she take? Right? PowerPoint and Microsoft Excel and Word, and she knows all that business that I don't know. You still see me cheer when I figure this out. So my dog keeps going in circles. Lay down. It's not even dinner time. He usually at 3 o'clock, he eats at 5. He starts at 3 o'clock, but now it's 10:50. I don't know what he wants. He just went out, just crazy. He's probably like, why are you still home? Right, so this little boy went to the woman who has the least amount of education in education. Every time. Everybody sent her to the office. Well, the principal and vice principal weren't there a lot. So you couldn't really talk to them. So it's just an exclusionary measure. I'm having a hard time with you, get out. That is really hard for relationships. I think I have one. It's not next, but it's the one after that. 2 after that. It says, being someone who can influence others is the greatest strengths in building relationships. Relationships is your best strategy. If that's your best strategy to form a relationship with a kid, so you're their power of one, so when they're sad or mad, they are best for you, is exclusionary measures a good idea? No, because I only love you when you got it together. And when you don't have it together, sayonara, sucker. You're going to go to, right, somewhere else. Time and patience are your greatest tools. Know that whenever you're trying to teach a kid, it takes us, my son is still learning to read and he's 7, right? How many people still see words at whatever age you are that you don't know and you have to look up? Yeah, right, we all do, of course. So we're still learning that part. It takes time. It takes time to learn emotions regulation. You know when the brain gets that? Adolescence. Do you know when adolescence ends in your brain? 3rd decade of life, when you're 30s. So I'm 42, so I'm supposed to be regulated, just so you know. I'm working on it. How many people are still working on it? Oh, geez, hold on. Oh boy, I lost myself. Okay. Yeah, so time and patience. And you have to be patient. I always say, people say, if you could have one thing, what would it be? When anybody asks me any of those questions, like, if you could be the best teacher, what would you want? What would you need? Patience is always the thing. And I am, less patient in my regular life, in my personal life. But in my professional life, you will always see me either be funny or calm. I'm not sure if anybody has ever seen me. I've lost my marbles in like my car, but I've never lost my marbles in front of kids. Inside my body, I feel like I'm losing my marbles. Outside, I sound like a very calm helper. But I could always use more patience, especially with the temperament that's hard for me, right? That perfectionistic, I don't need your humor. I don't even want to talk to you. I think you're stupid and boring. That temperament is, I'm always like, I'm not boring. It's not nice. Don't say that. That's so hurtful to me. But I can't like cry in front of the kid because of that, right? So time and patience are your greatest tools, which means you have to know yourself. What are your hot buttons? Before you even look at discipline, what are your hot buttons? Because you're going to jump to those quicker than you jump to any other behavior that's happening. If people feel like they have lost control and power, they'll find a way to get the power back. So what I see all the time is when, right, the thing I was talking to Lori about, is when I see adults not know what to do and they're at their last straw, what do? Dig in their heels, hoard and pull back all the power. Now I have all the power. I decide when you get a color or a card or a clip down or a sticker. You don't get to decide any of that. So when we move out of a sticker chart, it should be, if you're doing any sort of sticker chart, the kid should decide if they get it or not, because that's self-reflection for them. But that's not normally how a sticker chart works, or a clip down system, or any of those. But I see it all the time. I'm currently seeing school districts not know what to do. So they're doing what? Digging in their heels, hoarding all the power, and then the kids get to make no choices. And it's up to me if you do this. It's up to me if you get this. It's up to me if I take away this. They don't have a voice. How does that look in the real world? We're going to have all these kids who are externally motivated to and not have any say or know how to speak up. You want kids to be assertive. If someone's saying, this is what needs to happen and it's not right, kids should be able to speak up. But in the systems we are creating now, you can't speak up. I can only get things or rewards if I'm good. Right, you see, I can only do this finger because my other one is touching my dog and he's not moving right now. So we're just gonna touch him like this, right? Good. It's only if you're making good choices, you get the thing. Well, who decides what good is? Teacher, right? And then, so now I have to know my kindergarten teacher and I have to know what the good choices for her are. But my first grade teacher is way different. So now I have to know what is going to meet your needs and what's good for you. And then in second grade, she's a way different teacher than I've had. So now I have to know how to behave for this teacher. By the time you get out of high school, what happened? Have you ever found yourself? No, because you've just been following the rules of every teacher, but every teacher has a different temperament and every teacher has a different rules. And that's really hard for some kids to be that flexible, to know the social cues, to pick that piece up. That's really hard. And it's really hard, right? I think it's really hard sometimes when you are in contact with a lot of people that you have to adjust yourself. Kids don't know how to do that. And if it takes them all year, we have to be time and patient, right? Use our patience and let time happen for them to figure it out. So we have to keep choosing love for them to figure it out. We talked about relationships. Conflict happens, so enter, maintain, and exit conversation well. Right? So my son knows that when he says something and I go, he goes, Mommy, was that a deep breath like you're frustrated with me, or deep breath like you've had a long day? Like, I'm frustrated, buddy. He goes, what did I do? I'm like, I'm not frustrated with you. He's like, well, I didn't know. Why are you frustrated? Right? So like, okay. Or if I go, hey, Papa, he knows that, how is that conversation going to go? Well, right? How's this conversation going to go? Dude, how's that going to go? He already knows before entering that he's in trouble, right? So now we say, because we both are talkers, he will go, Mommy, I have something to say. You got to listen all the way through. We tell each other that. And then I say, buddy, I have something to say. You got to listen to all of it before you respond. We always give each other those warnings because we will jump in to each other's ideas before if you like take a breath or sneeze or cough, or we're like jumping in. And then we argue over who has airtime. My husband, you could talk all day because he doesn't want any airtime. But I did not give birth to that kid. I gave birth to me, which is hard. So whispers turn into yelling if you aren't paying close attention. What's a whisper? Somebody comes in with their parent, if you were in childcare, and the parent says, good luck with him. It's been a terrible morning. So do you think the kid's coming in happy, sad, or mad? Sad or mad, right? Okay, that's a whisper. You can't just say, hey, buddy, good morning, and then walk away from him. Because what's going to happen? You already know that something's happening. Oh, bud, sounds like you've had a rough morning. Maybe if we eat and you want to go snuggle in the quiet area and read a book, right? You got to figure that piece out, because if you just leave that, what happens? So I saw it. I was in a school district. Kid was in kindergarten, so he was 5, and I was called down. And I went in, I walked into the classroom, and I looked around, and I was like, I don't see him. And they said he's on the ceiling. So the school had pipes that you could climb the pipes on the wall and hang from the ceiling on the pipes. And I looked up, and he was hanging like a monkey from the ceiling. And I was like, well, first of all, that's amazing. I did not say that out loud. And I said, whew, what happened? So we eventually got him down. They tried to give him stickers to get down, by the way, and he said the F word every time he was offered a sticker. So that didn't go well. And we ended up in a little closet to talk. I said, Bud, what was happening? He goes, you know what? That classroom is too loud and it's too close, and I had to do worksheets more than one time, and they were the same stupid worksheets, and I don't even get to sit next to my friends. Do you hear all the whispers? Nobody listened to all the whispers, so what happened? It turned into yelling, right? His yelling was, I'm going to hang from the ceiling and I'm not getting down, and I'm going to throw F-bombs at you. He threw 4 F-bombs. Because the teacher said, hey, buddy, if you get down, I'll give you a sticker. And what did he say? I don't want your sticker. Every time. And you know what I thought? Good for you, dude. All right, I look at things a lot differently than everybody else does. I was like, good for you. Because you're struggling and you're on the ceiling. You are so struggling you're on the ceiling. And I think he's thinking, really? What school did you go to? That when I'm struggling on the ceiling, that's all you got is a sticker? You have a stupid sticker? That's it? You have no strategy or help? You didn't see any of my whispers throughout the day? I was also watching the classroom the day before, and I was sitting in the loft, which is this beautiful place where you can read. And I said, hey, Bud, why don't you come up to the loft? He goes, we're not allowed in the loft. Why? He's like, there's only certain times of the day, and we know we can only do certain things up in the loft. Well, that sounds stupid. So like every time I went in the classroom, there was this beautiful loft and nobody was ever in it. But you could see the kids walking by it like, it's so pretty. And they wanted to go in, but you're not allowed, but you weren't allowed in the loft. So that was another whisper of his. So we have to pay attention to those whispers, because when they yell, we're emotional. They're up here. They can't be logical. You got to wait for them to come down. You can get them. A whisper means they just go here. Oh, buddy, your mom seemed angry. I bet you have a story. You don't have to tell me, but I'd love to make you feel better, right? You could get them back here. It's easier than when we've missed all the whispers and they're now up here. To get them way back here is like can be minutes, hours. Have you had kids come in the classroom where they're mad at the beginning and they're mad all day? Yeah. How many people have woken up and you're like, today's going to be an awful day and I hate every minute and I can't wait to go to bed tonight so I can start over, right? But we let adults be like that, because you could say, you know what, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I am grumpy, stay away. And if a kid says that, we first see it as fresh and rude and sassy. Second of all, do you stay away? No, I see a lot of teachers and parents like pick at them. No, well, they have to learn. Okay, well, making them more mad's not teaching them anything. It's teaching how hard can I kick my teacher or my mom is what it's teaching them, right? So, and the last one is hurt people hurt people. That's where you have to, if you are a person who is hurting, just maybe in general, or just like in that day, your teaching is going to suffer. Your parenting is going to suffer. It's going to be really hard when you are hurt. Because you choose what? You choose what has happened to you. You choose what you know. You're not apt to be flexible and go outside and choose love, right? You're not floating in the love boat. You're in the I don't know what the fear boat does. What does that one do? I feel like it's in a poop river with like no paddles and you're going down a waterfall. I think that's what happens when you're in the fear one. I don't want to be in that one. So knowing that when we do discipline, this is so important and everybody should know. Developmental norms. So the attention span of a 3-year-old, meaning, not the attention span, sorry, how much they follow through on adult directives. So you tell a 3-year-old to do something. How often do they follow through? 60 to 70% of the time. It's closer to 60 actually. We'll say 60% of the time. So when you have 2 and 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds even worse, but 3-year-olds, when you have 3-year-olds and they follow through half the time you're doing it. There's no discipline needed for the 40% they don't follow through. That's a developmental norm. That's them figuring out power and control. That's them growing and learning into autonomy. So we don't have to discipline the other 40%. 4-year-olds, it's 70%. 5-year-olds, it's 80%. 6 years old to adulthood, 90%. You should always have 10% free. You should always be able to speak up 10% of the time and say, this isn't working for me. But what do all those fear-based strategies do? If you're going to get a sticker, how often do you have to follow through? 100%, right? So you can't have a moment. You can't freak out. You can't forget what strategies you were supposed to use, but you didn't use, but you know them when you're calm, but when you're not calm, you don't know them, right? How many people know what to do when they're mad, but when they're mad, they can't do it? I'm 42, still. Yesterday I was, I've been home for like 4 weeks with my son. I'm the one in charge. Luckily, I was a teacher and I'm in behavior, and I only have one kid. So I realize, but by, I don't know what time was it, 6:30 at night, we were trying to do something, and I took the sheet and I threw it on the ground and I said, stand over there. Talk through my teeth, and my husband goes, oh, sounds like maybe it wasn't a good day. I was like, you're not helping. And is that what I should have done? No, what should I have done? Walked away, taken a deep breath, got a drink of water, apologized to my son. Did I do any of those? No, I talked through my teeth. Stop it. People, right? Some people say, you have a hard time and you talk through your teeth, Meg? Yes. Yes, I do. I do. I feel anger in my mouth. I'll talk through my teeth or I'll bite you. And I think probably talking through my teeth is a better idea. So we don't want 100% of the time. We don't want kids to follow through with what we say 100% of the time. That's dangerous, first of all. And we get to say, hey, I don't like that idea. That's, right? I see this, it happened a lot with like math. So a kid knows one way of math, but not the other way of math, but the other way of math is the way you're learning right now, and that's the way you have to do it. And if you do it in your head and you get the right answer, but you don't show your work, it's wrong. That's 100% of the time. You have to do it with work the way I taught you, not the way your brain works and the work, just tell me what you did in your head. You don't have to do it on paper. That's 90% of the time. See how there's a difference there? Right, I have some kids that get the right answer, that get it marked wrong because they didn't do it the right way. You're outside the developmental norm. That's 100% of the time. It can't be 100% of the time. My dog walked away. Be very quiet. It's gonna come back at me. All right, so these are the 12 guiding principles. They are, anybody read Alfie Kohn? So if you do not read him or know any, oh look, I have a whole bunch right, I'm leaving for a second. Look at this one, this one's awesome. Rewards not working, question mark? Education expert Alfie Kohn explains why incentive hurt kids and how teachers can break free of them. That's one of his. He has a book, right, it's called Unconditional Parenting. He has one called Punished by Rewards. He has Risk of Rewards. He has Unconditional Teaching. He has Case Against Gold Stars. All of that stuff. And he's really good, really outspoken. He is outspoken like me, so people will try to change his mind and he just doesn't entertain any sort of like, yeah, well, you can use gold stars, but it's not the right way to do it.
Meg, can you spell his name?
Yeah, it's in the handout, so it's A-L-F-I-E. That's Alfie. And Kohn is K-O-H-N. So he has all sorts of things. So if anybody is like struggling with any sort of reward system and you're like, I don't know what to do, find, right? I can write, want me to write I'll write the names of the ones I just showed real quick when I send you your handout. When I send you your certificate, and you can find them. And I challenge the person who gets those and reads them to continue doing the reward system. It just wouldn't make any sense. You would read that and be like, and if they do, right, then you have to go back to that first question of how do you currently discipline kids? Are you falling into what used to happen to you? So the first one is be reflective. If you saw my video, the first thing is, who am I? Before we start any of this, finding strategies in love, getting rid of fear, what boat we're gonna float in, we have to be reflective. We have to know ourselves. We have to know how we hang out with other people. We have to know why we choose the things we choose. Reconsider your requests. So sometimes we ask dumb things. You know, probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen is kids eating lunch, and I don't know what it is with toddlers. They're like, belly to the table. So they push the toddler. I can't even get all the way to my table because I have the arms on my chair. All the way to the table like this, and then eat your lunch. So you're like you're like a T-Rex, right? Because you're like, beep, 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 beep. Or I've seen kids turning like this to talk to somebody behind them. And what do they say? Oh my God, don't turn around, you're gonna choke. Or if they stand up, you can't stand and eat, you're choking. You're gonna choke, you're gonna die. Stop, that's not true. That's not true. And it makes me so bonkers when people say that. How many people have walked and eaten before? How many people have choked and died? I hope there's no hands. No, Gail, Susie. Oh, sorry, Dose. Oh, I just ran over my dog. Now he's going to be back over here. So, right, we have to figure out what our requests are. Are we asking kids to do really silly things? Because sometimes it's the stuff that we tell kids to do, or like silent lunch. Why? What if I said, Laura, you want to go out to lunch with me? I do want to go out to lunch with you. I want to go out to lunch with you, and let's go to I don't know, Olive Garden, and but it's silent lunch. So we just sit and look like this, and look at each other. Is that a dumb request? Yeah, because you don't sit and have lunch with somebody and make it silent. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, we do that all the time. Why? Because the adult has not said, who am I? And a lot of noise is hard for me. So if a lot of noise is hard for you, find the people who are loud and go over and tell them, wow, it's really hard for me. It's making this really loud. Could we come down a level? But I've had teachers in lunches blow whistles. Silent lunch! I've had teachers put kids' heads on the table to eat, and they're trying to like eat like this and like duck under their, stop it. If I ever went to lunch with Lori and that's how you did lunch, Lori, I promise you I would leave. I'd be like, we're not doing lunch anymore. We're not doing lunch. Keep your eyes on your long-term goals. So time and patience. So you want a kid to what? This. He's here. The long-term goal is going to be a lot of different strategies, a lot of time and patience. Keep your eye on this, but know that it's going to be a lot of little things to get to this. It's going to be hard. Put the relationship first, right? So that it is the best way to tackle challenging behaviors. Know that in a relationship, we have to be in charge of, oh my goodness, hold on. What my dog just had. Packing stuff. Because I wasn't paying attention to him, he took packing stuff out of our closet. Crazy. Oh my goodness. So we have to put our relationship first, and we are the adjusters because we have more education and experience, right? 3-year-olds can't adjust to us. That's crazy talk. Change how you see, not just how you act, right? So kids don't wake up wanting to make bad choices. If you think that of a kid, I promise you discipline's going to look differently for you. If you think, you know what, he wants to make my life awful. That's his goal. He woke up thinking he's going to make this terrible. What's your discipline look like? You're probably choosing fear. If you can switch how you see and not just how you act, then you'll get to a different place. Respect, they may be little, but they deserve respect. There are so many kids that I see are not getting the respect they deserve for sure. Be authentic. I don't know how many times, I can't even take it when they're like, oh, Susie, I'm just so glad you're here. Like, stop saying it like that. Why are you saying it like that? You sound terrible. And that kid knows that that is not a true statement. Have you seen the teachers like that? That have that like voice? Just because you work with little kids, you get that at like 6. Oh my goodness. Bubble wrap. 6. You got that for like 6 months. And then what happens? Then you have to come out of that. Because I can't listen to that. Oh my goodness, hold on. He knows. He's like, you can't do anything. He tried to eat more. Stop it. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. So my son's sitting over there. He notices nothing that's happening. He doesn't notice that he ate all the stuff. And my son's like, what? Is he not being good? Oh my goodness. Right? That's how technology, that's the kids we're going to get. Those are the kids we're going to get. The kids that are like, right? He was like this. Because every time he knows I go on one of these, he gets to be on that so he can not go, Mommy, I have to go to the bathroom or something, whatever he asks. So we have to be authentic, right? I feel like I just showed authenticity. Like, oh, I got to get up and my dog's eating all the things. So we have to be authentic with kids. We can't sound fake, but we do often with, and I don't know how to tell teachers that. That's still a message I'm trying to figure out. Right? When teachers sound like that, and how do you say like, ooh, you sound awful? You can't say that. You sound, I don't even know. I don't know how to, but right, it sounds awful. So we have to, what? Say it.
Why can't you tell them that they sound insincere?
Oh, insincere is a good way. But you still have to, you can say you sound insincere, and then you have to be ready for them, because that's not taken as constructive criticism a lot of the time. So it's taken as, and I get that face. But if you said it to me, I'd be like, oh, geez, really? Because I pride myself on sounding sincere and authentic. So sometimes you get, when I say, I do give the message, but I have to get ready for them to be hurt, right? Because I work with a really sensitive population, like their feelings are on their sleeves. So it's a hard message for me to give, and they have no idea they're doing it. Does everybody know the teachers that sound like that? I bet if you ask them, I bet if you ask them, they have no idea that they say, and they think they're being kind and caring and nurturing. So I don't want that part to go away. I just don't want you to sound like that, because the kids read you. If you did that to me as a 5-year-old, I'd be like, yuck, right? I just couldn't. I know that you were faking it, because I'm good at that piece. Talk less and ask more. That is in my house, that is what we do. Ask more questions. Always. So my son will turn it back on me now and say, ask more questions. And I was like, oh, right. I was supposed to ask more questions. Brennan, did you let him in? He went out and in already? Oh, geez. Did he go to the bathroom? Oh, okay. It was like 45 seconds, guys, that he was downstairs and back upstairs, because he doesn't want to miss out on the iPad time, right? Keep their ages in mind. Remember development, right? If you have a 2-year-old who is fighting you, what 2-year-old doesn't fight you? They all have ODD. They all want, right? They're all defiant. That's just the 2-year-old developmental stage. Don't stick your nose in unnecessarily. Don't say no to everything. It should be a yes environment. Don't be rigid. I see that. Teachers that are so inflexible that they can't, right? I'm doing, not the end of this week, but the end of next week, I'm doing For the Love of Circle. But it's not because I love Circle. It's really called For the Love of Circle, because Circle is not the best way to teach the things we teach at Circle. So I'm having teachers go outside of what's comfortable for them and try to do it a different way. And you could see the teachers that are okay with it are more flexible and be like, okay, I'll try it. And then the teachers that are like, I've been in this field 30 years, I've always done it this way, this is the way I'm going to do it. And they won't like broaden their box at all. They're just so rigid, right? And it's usually all the papers like very, very straight and orderly. When I put it on the wall, it's all like this. It looks like a collage, so that way I don't have to do it straight, because I just can't do it. Don't be in a hurry. On my notes, it says slow your roll. You know who doesn't care about our schedules? The kids. Right? Oh my gosh, we have to go outside at this time because we have playground time from 9 to 9:30 and we're late. The kids don't care. They're like, well, then get it together. We should have been dressed already, and what are you doing? And right? Like, come on, focus. I was always late for things.
What happens if your co-teacher is like that and you're not?
Yeah, so my co-teacher was not like that. I would say to my co-teacher, I would go, it was so funny. I'd say, Rihanna, we have 5 minutes and we got to go. It was like her head exploded and she ran around the classroom getting all the things, and I'm like in a sparkle tiara. I was like, okay. So we were opposites, but opposites work best together, because what I missed, she caught. What she missed, I caught. But it's also hard because, I mean, if we went on field trips without Rihanna, I would have no backpack. The seats wouldn't be in right. I'd have none of the permission slips. I would have so much fun on the field trip, but it would probably be all illegal, because she was the one that did all that. I was just like, yeah, let's go see the llamas. I love llamas. Let's pet them. Like, that's the only part I thought about. So I needed her, and she needed me because she was so worried about the field trip. And I was like, this is a llama, Rihanna. Look at the llama. It's fun. Smile. But she was so like caught in her spot. So you have to, right? We have to be able to know ourselves. So I could say, okay, I know, what do you want me to do? It's going to be hard for me, but I will try my best, right? To get there. We have 10 minutes. Boo. This is going to be a very interesting one for the people who watched this secondhand that didn't, with the dog and me talking to my son and getting up and move. Yeah, it's going to be, they're going to be like, what is wrong with her? They should know that already, probably. Authoritative caregivers, really quick, we're going to do it. Act, don't talk. Stop talking about buckling your seatbelt, carry out of the park, remove that toy that is being fought over. So a lot, we talk a lot about it, and we try to do this dissertation. We have to just do it. I see this. Well, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. We're going to leave the park in 5 more minutes. Just go. Leave, right? Follow through. So hard, but necessary. If you leave in 5 minutes, you're leaving in 5 minutes. If I say this and this doesn't happen, that's why you have to watch Discipline, because I had this one mom that said, if you don't, I was at the house even, if you don't clean up your room, you're not going to Disney World. Right? It was like almost February, April vacation. I was like, really? Who's he gonna stay home with? That's not, like, that's an empty threat, right? And he knows. You think he thinks he's not going to Disney World? He's 12. He knows. Be firm and kind, or firm and neutral. So sometimes kids have to know where your line in the sand is. They have to know when they've pushed you to your limit, and it's not with yelling. It's with this voice. So I'm trying to think of what to say. I've asked you to put that down. I need you to put it down now. That way. Not yelling and not like, oh, buddy, could you just put that down? I just need it right here, right? Because that kid's like, whatever. So firm and neutral, they have to know, like, oh, my son knows when I sound like that, whoop, that's mommy's line, not gonna cross it, I'm done. And sometimes I'm like, look at my face. Does this look like a happy mommy? Does this sound like a happy mommy? Does this, right? And I've done it with kids, and I was like, whoa. A lot of us call it our teacher voice. Whew. Our teacher voice. Like, that was my teacher voice. And that means I'm frustrated. So when I'm frustrated, I need you to do what I ask, or talk to me about why you're not doing it, right? The person who can and must change is the teacher or parent. We've talked about that. Kids can start figuring themselves out and adjusting in late middle school, early high school. Give children permission to make mistakes, be imperfect, and to try again. Yes. You can only change yourself, so self-reflection is necessary. And have children help and maintain and establish the rules. We're going to skip to, right, this is a 2-hour one, as you guys all know. I don't change it to 1 hour because I think that it's helpful for you to have all the information. So like you can read this one. So natural and logical consequences we're going to talk about for 7 minutes. So natural consequences are, if a kid does not wear a coat outside, they're going to be cold. If you do not eat dinner at dinner time, you're going to be hungry. I'm currently in a natural consequence. We went downstairs to eat, and I was like, I'm not hungry. And now I'm like, my stomach's eating itself. And I was like, I should have eaten. It's a natural consequence. I didn't eat at snack time, and now I'm hungry. So then natural consequences are null and void when danger happens. So like if you were to run out across the street in the road, what happens? You could get hit by a car. That's a natural consequence. But we can't let that happen. So we have to have logical consequences happen. The part with logical consequences is that last bullet. This is the thing I get the most questions on, and the things I get that are hardest for teachers and parents. It's hardest for adults. So using logical consequences will help avoid power struggles because they seem to be fair to the child as long as they have the 3 R's. They are related, reasonable, and respectful. This is the part that most fear-based strategies break. Because if you move too much and you get recess taken away, is that reasonable, respectful, and related? It's the opposite of what has to happen. So when things are related, it means that they are related to what happened. That is the one people have a hard time with. So if they don't do their homework, the logical consequence is not that you lose iPad time. If you don't do your homework, it's that you're going to go in tomorrow and talk to the teacher about not doing your homework and you're going to get a bad grade. It's then hard when you get a bad grade and you don't care and it keeps going. That's a whole different, right, situation. It has to be reasonable. So we are more unreasonable with consequences when it's our hot button. If you whine at me, I promise you my reasonable part of the logical consequence has gone out the window because it's my hot button. So I have to be very conscious about how I react. You have to be conscious and cautious about how I react because it's my hot button and I go, right? So 0 is nothing. 100 is felony. Have you seen people react to whining like it's 100? Whining is really like a 3, right? Or a 4 or a 5, even if it's a 10. I've seen some people react like last night when I reacted and I threw the paper down, I tucked through my teeth. I was way too far in that spectrum for reasonable. I was way too far in my reaction. And my husband looked at me like, must have been a hard day. And I was like, it actually isn't a hard day. He's like, well, you reacted like it was. And I was like, oh, sorry. I was way too far down the reasonable spectrum. And then they have to be respectful. This is the one that's broken in fear-based strategies. If shame, guilt, and embarrassment comes out of fear-based strategies, if you ignore the behaviors, is it respectful? No. If you're stickering kids and then taking stickers away and they only get stuff when they're good, is that respectful? And also doesn't teach them to be internally motivated. So this is the thing that's hardest because it is hardest to people like, so what about, sometimes I have parent workshops on this where we just talk about logical consequences. I give them the 3 R's and they come with all the different scenarios and we think of a logical consequence. The hard thing is you can ask me all your logical scenarios, all your scenarios for logical consequences. Tomorrow, what's going to happen? You're going to get a new one that you didn't think about. So know that you're going to make a mistake. Know that the best thing to do when you do not know how to discipline or how to or make a consequence, or you don't know what the consequence is, you go, I'm feeling mad. I'm going to walk away and I need 5 minutes to just like wrap my head around what happened. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk for 5 minutes. We're going to talk in 5 minutes. You just got to give yourself a break. Or sometimes with my son, I'm like, I need to, you know what? I have to talk to daddy about this. Because now I have another person. If you have a co-teacher, you know what? I'm going to talk to Rihanna about this. To figure out how to talk it through. I am big in thought. And I go like, and I talk to my husband and he kind of like chisels it down a little bit for me. Because I need him because he's very level-headed. And I'm not, I mean, I can't imagine you guys, that would ever be something you would use to describe me. Meg, oh, I know Meg, she's so level-headed that I can't imagine that's the thing that you would use to describe me. Someone one time called me, what they say, peaceful and tranquil. And I thought, well, I fooled them. Because I don't think that's ever, right? Peaceful and tranquil, that is not true. But because I go into programs where I have time and patience, I do look that way. And I said, oh, maybe that's just on the outsides. My insides are squirrely. And the lady was like, because she said, you and I are so alike in behavior strategies. I said, oh, what do you mean by that? And she goes, you are also so peaceful and tranquil. Yeah, sure am. So write down, but when I first learned this for logical consequences, I wrote down the 3 R's on a Post-it and I put it like on my mirror and I put it like on a cereal box just so I remembered. Because I kept, people are like, wait, I got 2 R's, reasonable, respectful, and what's the other one? It's so hard to put this together. That's why it's not, you wouldn't find this on Pinterest. That's why you don't go there, because it's not a thing. There's not a chart for reasonable, respectful, and related. It's something you have to practice so it comes to you easier. After you've done the self-reflection, after you realize you can't have all the power, after you realize, write those things before we start, and then the 12 guiding principles. All that has to come together. Do you see how it's not a Pinterest strategy? It all has to come together, and you're going to mess it up. I still mess it up. Sometimes I lay in bed and I'm like, oh, that would have been such a good strategy. But it's like 5 hours after it happened. And then I'll go, and I can't help it. I have to go to my son. I'll be like, Bud, you know, when I was mad the other day and I did this, I should have done this. And he's like, oh, that's a good one, Mommy. And I was like, I know, I thought of it at 3 a.m. and I just wanted to tell you, next time I'm going to try to use it. I don't know if that's going to happen. There's a difference between timeout and renewal time. Timeout is when you put a kid in a space and you remove yourself from them. Kids need to co-regulate before they self-regulate. So renewal time is when you are with the kid in the space and you are helping them calm. Sometimes that means sitting there and being quiet. Know that that's the hardest part for me. Those are some explanations of frequently used ones, and the difference between punishment and consequence. Those we don't have to go over because I think I did a pretty good job of showing you the difference. So the first thing you're going to do when you get off the call, if you're like, how am I going to enter this? You're going to start with that very first slide of how do you currently discipline? Are you in the love boat or are you in the fear boat? The fear boat's stinky. Remember, it's on the poop river. So the fear boat is stinky. We're going to get out of that, hopefully on land, and we're going to find the love boat. It is harder, right? People want, if they're using fear-based strategies, they're fun, fast, and easy and quick, and they want love to be the same way. So they're like, now what do we do? I don't know. Do you have 5 days for me to tell you? It's a process. The best thing I could tell you for love to get out of fear and get into love is 98% of the time a challenging behavior is a lack of skill or an unmet need. You need to teach skills, meet needs, and use your time and patience. All right, everyone? Yay? I have another one. Oh, let's see. I always have my list because I don't know. Tomorrow. Oh, I have 2 tomorrow. Moving and thinking is connected in the brain, so we're not going to say sit still and pay attention anymore because it's not physiologically possible. Your brain can't do that. We're probably going to talk a little bit about crisscross applesauce because that makes me crazy. And at night, we have nutrition and challenging behavior. And know that I have an Entenmann's coffee cake that I got 5 years ago and it has no mold on it. That alone is a reason to tune in. And it's rock hard. But if you didn't feel it, you could eat, it looks like you could eat it because it's beautiful. But it's like, it's probably 4-ish years old. It's so gross. So those are my 2 tomorrow. You know where they are. They're my, on Eventbrite. And thank you all for coming. You know I say this all the time, but I am always nervous to do these. It's a little weird because I just see your faces and I talk to you and you don't, and it's not in person, but it is self-care for me. So I truly appreciate you being here. There was a lot of you today. There's 26 of you or something. Yeah, there's 25, 26 of you. And that for self-care for me is awesome. And it'll bring me through the whole day till tomorrow at 2 when I do another one. Thank you so much. Go out and make it a good Tuesday and try to jump in the love boat. Okay? Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ew.
I love your energy.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Amen.